Hey everyone, thanks for joining our webcast today. Today we're going to be talking about integrating remote tools with Pdq Inventory. Shane and Alex will go over a couple examples like DameWare and IntelliAdmin. If at any time you have questions during the webcast, you can ask them in the chat window or you can email them to me at webcast@adminarsenal.com. If your question is featured during the webcast, we'll send you some PDQ swag such as this PDQ shot glass or whiskey tumbler. I'll now turn it over to Shane and Alex.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
I'm Lex. Thanks for joining us.
All right, we're going to look at PDQ Inventory, specifically how you can integrate some of your favorite, utilities, sysadmin
Tools, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going to focus, as Annalisa mentioned, on a couple of them like DameWare, Remote Control, IntelliAdmin, and free at no extra charge if we have enough time.
Free at no extra charge.
Something else.
I think we have to charge. Definitely free. Would anybody pay to see us do this?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We can't even get people to watch it for free. All right, so here we have PDQ Inventory. Now we are using this on Inventory 6. However, this will work. Everything we're doing here will work on Inventory 5 as well. Just so you know, in order to do what we're going to do, however, you do need Pro or Enterprise mode, because we're going to look at some what are known as custom tools. So as you probably know, if you've ever used PDQ Inventory, you can go over here to your Tools menu or your Tools drop down, and you'll see some built-in tools. You've got like VNC if you use VNC for remote control or remote desktop. But what if you use something else? I'm actually going to come in here and delete. I'm going to go into Preferences, because Preferences is where you're going to handle these things. Notice I've got a couple of extra custom tools, but I'm going to delete these. And we're going to just create these from scratch. So let's say that you use DameWare, and you're tired of having to open up the DameWare console.
Go find a target.
Go find a target. You're like, hey, I'm already in inventory. I want to be able to do this, like I do with like you guys can do with VNC or remote desktop. Well, first of all, obviously you have to have DameWare installed. You want your agents installed. You can do that. Actually, DameWare can do that on the fly, or you can use something like PDQ Deploy, which we've done just for this example. We've thrown out DameWare on a couple machines and IntelliAdmin. All right. So first thing you want to do, here's the thing. If you want to run a remote control session from something that's not VNC or remote desktop, you need to find out if that remote control session can be called from a command line. And then, of course, what are the necessary parameters to do that? So we're just going to open up Google Chrome here, and we're going to do something like DameWare remote control command line. Just some Google foo there. There it is. Many remote control command line switches for DameWare. Let's go check that out.
The things you're going to want to look for, obviously any switches to run it, and then if you can pass like a target name of a computer and IP address.
Correct. So here, it looks like it's DWRCC. Once again, we've got the DameWare viewer installed on this machine. So let's do this. We're going to go over here to Preferences. And in Custom Tools, we're going to create a new tool. We'll call this DameWare.
What an original name.
DameWare Mini Remote Control, or whatever you want to call it, And then there's the command line. Well, we know we need to go to, as it mentioned, DWRCC. So that's going to be under Program Files and SolarWinds, DameWare. And of course, if you upgrade DameWare and they move it into a different directory, you're going to have to update the path here in your custom tool. But there's DWRCC. Perfect. But let's look at Google again and see what
commands we have to
parameters
we have to pass.
So it looks like we can do dash. Let's see. So you want to connect automatically. How's that sound?
That would definitely be a plus here, minus.
So it's looks like dash C colon dash H will bypass. We'll do dash H.
Now, the other thing we want to pass is the name of the target machine that we want to connect to.
Now, it's dash M colon. So that's the machine, dash M colon. And then the machine, since we're not going to type in a machine name here, we have to use a variable. because the whole goal here is whatever machine is selected, you want to remote control that.
Now, the great thing about this is if you were to hit F1, I like to refer to it as RTFM. From here, you're going to get the variables that you can use in the command line.
Here's the help window. And these are the variables for custom tools that you can use. And so we're going to pass the name of the computer, which is target. Another popular one is target host names, and that's the fully qualified name. But for right now, we'll just do target. So F1, just go to your help or click that little question mark. So we have CH-M target. I believe there's something else. Probably shouldn't have deleted the other one since I had that. Domain if you have to specify a port, specify a specific port. -A, that's the authentication method. I believe it's 1. Yeah, we're going to use the NT challenge response. But if you use like a smart card, then you would want to use probably 3. You know, so we're going to do -A:1 challenge response. And is there anything else? I think there was one other one. It was to, -X:, because I want to automatically close. When I'm done with this, I want to close the DameWare window. All right, that should work. If you want to assign a shortcut, you can. These are shortcut keys. Just make sure it's not something that's already used by anything on your system or Pdq inventory. But let's just say we want to do Control plus Shift plus D for DameWare. Control Alt D will actually call Pdq deploy. So we're going to do Control Shift D. The shortcut key is optional. Now let's see if I screwed that up. So you see we have that now. We will go right over here to, well, I've also got, I created an apps collection and DameWare. So we've got, let's do Costanza.
Okay.
Now, like anything other tool, I can go to Tools, and you'll see, oh, it's alphabetized. There's DameWare right there. Perfect.
Joy. Happy day.
Happy day. So Google Foo. Find out there. You saw there's a lot of commands to initiate. Let's Control Alt Delete. What was that? What was that, JJ?
And I think that's I believe that's our next webcast is Google Foo, the art of finding silent parameters.
Oh, okay. Oh, rock on. Good to know. And there you go. There's your remote control session. And like I said, there's so many things you can configure. Now, let's look at maybe those of you who use IntelliAdmin. So once again, just like DameWare, you have to have IntelliAdmin installed. We have a licensed copy of DameWare. We have a trial of IntelliAdmin just because I wanted to throw something else in there. So it's the same logic. We're going to Google this guy, right?
Yep.
IntelliAdmin remote control
Command line.
Command line or something like that.
Yeah.
I think, yep, launching the client from the command line. So we'll click that link. It takes us right down there. And it looks like iAdmin, I had already checked this out. It's been changed to IntelliAdmin as the EXE. But you can see all the different options that you have here. And there's quite a few of them. I'm going to make this a little wider there, JJ. So the most important is host name, right? So let's create, once again, go to Preferences.
Custom tools. Add a new tool. Wouldn't be surprised if you called this IntelliAdmin.
You're psychic.
Psychic, yeah. So once again, you got to go find the executable.
And I believe that one's in Program Files x86.
IntelliAdmin.
Yep,
There
IntelliAdmin 5. And we want to use the client, not the server. And IntelliAdmin. So, I mean, at the easiest portion, it's a host name, right? So I'm thinking it's going to be, let's see if they give us some other, host name equals. So everything is going to be the value and then, equals.
And equals, great.
So we'll do host name, space.
And once again, we're going to pass that variable, the target variable at this point.
Host name equals target. And then we'll just hurry and check to see other things like color depth. If if you've got a fast connection, maybe you want true color. So we can do color depth and remove wallpaper, stuff like that. So we'll do, let's just have some fun here. Color depth equals 0. And it was, disable local inputs would be so that the user can't
Mess with you
mess
on
with
it.
it while you're doing it if you want to do that. Exit on disconnect, we'll do that. And then we'll probably just stop there. Exit on disconnect equals true. And if you wanted to assign this, maybe control, and it's not case sensitive, just so you know, control shift plus I. Sound good?
Once again, I think I could have psychically figured that one out. Huh?
Do whatever you want. Let's see, is there anything else that that is going to be very important? I don't think so.
No.
All right, so we'll say OK to that. And now let's go to a machine that has the IntelliAdmin agent. Let's go to Newman. And we're going to do Control Shift
I.
I. Yeah.
There we go.
Notice there was a trial message. And here we are with launching that. So once again, you can launch your favorite remote control tools from PDQ Inventory as long as those sessions can be called
From a command line.
precisely.
So,
Okay,
Shane,
so-
all
yeah,
right,
please,
so
please.
remote. We've got that under control. We've got remote desktop. We've got DameWare. We've got Intelli. What about some of the other things all of us sysadmins use a lot, like users and computers, registry editing? I mean,
The users and are you talking about like launching an Active Directory
yeah, an Active Directory
tool?
launch.
Okay, that's a good point. You may have seen there's a well, let's do it.
Now, the interesting thing about this, you can actually call things that don't access a remote computer. They just run on your console.
Hey, actually, why don't you go ahead? I'm going to create this. Why don't you explain the difference between a custom tool and a remote command? Because
Okay.
a lot of our customers actually are familiar with remote commands. You know.
Okay, a remote command, like it says, is run remotely on a target computer. Okay, you can call it from the console, but it will be run in a service on the target machine. Now, a remote tool will open up on your console, kind of like DameWare did. It runs on the console and accesses the remote machine. So, little semantics there, but it's important to understand the difference.
Yes, it's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Completely different use cases and why you would use a remote command versus a custom tool. All right, so the command line for Active Directory users and computers. And what we're trying to do is, let's go here. We're going to go to Admin Tools, Active Directory users and computers. That's what you want to open, is that
Oh, yeah,
correct?
that's
Okay.
exactly it.
Well, it's interesting because you're talking about opening something from the Microsoft Management Console.
Yeah.
So what you're going to want to do is go into Windows, your Windows directory, System32, and you're going to actually want to go to MMC. You're going to want to run your MMC command. Lord. There we go. But then we're going to pass it. Now the name, is it DSA?
I believe it is.
DSA.MSC. That should be the users and computers. If we're wrong, then we'll get an error. What can you say? You don't have. We're not going to assign this a shortcut. But notice this one. This is this option here. System tool. No selected computers needed. This is something that you want to run for yourself. You're in the console. It's not going to necessarily connect to another computer, but you still want to be able to launch it from within PDQ Inventory. And one of the cool things about that, you'll want to do this for especially if you have UAC enabled. Since PDQ Inventory has to run it elevated, any process you start from PDQ Inventory is itself going to be elevated. So utilities that require admin elevation, you can call them here. So let's select this. If you don't select that, then you won't be able to run this tool without having a computer selected. So now if it's correct, we can just go to Tools. It doesn't matter what computer is selected, and we can just say AD users and computers.
There it is.
There it is right there. Opens that up.
Now, again, like Shane said, because PDQ Deploy runs as an administrator on the machine, everything's elevated. So I could call a command prompt from this. I could run commands elevated, and that's a great thing.
Yeah,
so you
if
don't
you-
have to keep bouncing in and out.
Yeah, so you don't have to go. So if you want to open a command window, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Control comma to open preferences, custom tools. We're going to do a new tool. We'll call this one just CMD.
I love it.
How's that? You know, and it is elevated. So elevated, even LE elevated.
Boy,
Jesus
I see
Christ.
you and I went to school the same place, learned how to spell. That explains a lot.
Yeah, if you have any questions, by all means, throw them out, you guys.
We love to be the challenges and the answers.
There's a chat window, and so let's see, System 32. So you don't have to use the ellipsis. You can just do CMD. Now, if you just run CMD, it's going to open and close. So there's a command /K will open CMD and then
Keep it open.
Keep it open.
Yep.
System tool. So you can once again go to tools. So there's your CMD. Bring that. Oops, sorry, DJ.
Smash that down a little bit.
Bring that down. Yep, and there you go, right there. There's your elevated. You can see it says administrator up there. It's a little pixelated.
There we go.
So that's elevated. Think of other utilities that you have. Years ago, I wrote a utility to access the remote registry of machines because, let's say that I wanted. Normally, I'm gonna go here to tools. If you want to go into regedit, if I wanted to look at the registry for the computer Newman, I'd have to open this up, then go to connect, type in
Newman,
yada yada yada, and there it is.
Oh, that's way too many keystrokes.
Yeah, and there's actually there's no way to actually load from a command line using regedit. There's no way to load a computer, to load a remote computer. So I had to write a little utility years ago, but that utility you can use in remote tools. It's right out here. I'm going to close this window. It's called Remote Registry if you're running it on a 64-bit machine. So once again, the point for this is to think of what tools do you use and think of how you can incorporate them into Pdq inventory.
Streamline your job. I mean,
So this is actually an exe that lives on a file server. It doesn't live on the local on my console machine, even though it's going to be called from my console machine. So I'm just going to copy that path. Preferences. I'm going to add a new tool, and we'll just call this remote registry. Paste that in, and I believe it was a start reg 64 since I'm on a 64-bit system. And yeah, we'll do Control plus Alt.
And do we need to
9?
Pass a
Very good. Yeah, you need to. And this one, this exe does take. I think it's not a dash. It's just you just pass the name of the target.
Excellent.
And once again, how do you find those? How do you find what variables are available?
F1, RTFM. Everybody,
Custom
read
tool
the
window.
manual. Yeah,
Read the manual.
Read
You'll
the
see
manual.
those right there. You have IP address, MAC address. So depending on whatever utility that you're using, you can
Pass those parameters.
if these, you can pass these variables. So target. Thank you for calling that out. That would have failed. Now let's say I want to go. I made Control Alt 9 as the. No, I'll just do it from this way.
So it was a right click.
Remote registry.
Boom. There it is for Newman. Guess we got a question now.
Yeah, we have a question. While I take a drink, gentlemen.
Does the WL feature require a tool, or is it, or I can't read now, man, or is that built into PDQ deploy by squat P?
I didn't say PDQ deploy. They say PDQ.
Oh, PDQ. Inventory. Yeah.
But it's not built into PDQ deploy. It is built into PDQ inventory. So yes, if you want to wake something up, you can just simply right-click or go to, do your tools, and you'll see a wake. That's the wake on LAN right there. So if you want to scroll down, or can you? There we go. Scroll.
Wake. There it is. Right at the
It's
bottom.
at the bottom. It's it starts with W. There's wake. That's a way to wake up one computer. You can also
Wake starts with W.
in preferences. Well, it's
Thank you,
alphabet.
Captain Obvious.
Go away.
All right.
Whew. All right. So if you want to initiate wake on LAN using when you initiate inventory scans, then you can actually go down in preferences to scanning, and there's your offline policy. Now I've got this one set to do not attempt scan. That means when I scan the machine, it actually sends a ping out to all those machines and says, hey, are you online? If you're not online, I'm not going to bother scanning you. But if you want to, you can say wake on LAN and then attempt to scan. And that means it's still going to ping to see if a computer's online, but if it's not, it's going to send out a wake up. Now, there's a brand new feature in Inventory 6. If you have Inventory 5, this isn't going to work as well. In Inventory 6, we've enhanced wake on LAN a little bit. We call it distributed wake on LAN, where not only does it send the regular wake on LAN broadcasts out, but in the event that your environment has routers that block wake on LAN broadcasts or all broadcasts, Wake on LAN will attempt to contact a machine that's online on the remote subnet, and then have that machine also send out a wake on LAN. So we've gotten feedback from the beta users that that's working much, much better. So
They kind of love it.
In answer to your question, it is the wake on LAN feature is built in. There you go. Yeah. So you can do it from before a scan, or you can, and you can also just do it from the tools menu.
Apparently we got more questions. Excellent.
Shoot. Is there an already known FAQ on how to remotely turn on the WOL feature? The WOL feature, hi Jason. Is there an already known FAQ? There's, I'm going to go out to our support site. The answer is it's already turned on. You have to have scanned the computer before in inventory. Specifically, it has to have had the network scanner, so that it grabs the MAC address of that computer. So you have to know the MAC address, but it's already built in, Jason. If you go out to our support site, not CLM, how about COM?
There we go.
Go to our support.
How big was that drink you started with today, Shane?
Right. Pdq Inventory, I believe it's in the knowledge base. Yep, there it is right there. Using Wake on LAN from Pdq Inventory. So this explains how we do Wake on LAN, Jason, but it is already turned on by default. If you want that third part, the distributed, which once again is introduced in Inventory 6, that does require Pro or Enterprise mode. But even in free mode, it will do a broadcast, and then it will do what's known as a directed broadcast. The network gods at some companies allow directed broadcasts, so that could also work for you. But it is already enabled. It's just right there. Yeah, we can take another question.
Are there any variables for the local users as opposed to the selected targets wanting to pass the local name to a tool?
No, we don't have, and that's from KGASO. No, we don't have variables for the local user. You mean probably the user that's currently running. Depending on the tool that you want to run, you might want to use Pdq deploy, because Pdq deploy does allow you to run
as a local user.
run a process on a target machine as the logged on user. That user has to be logged on. And you can do that from deploy, but in inventory, no, there is not a variable. The only variables we have, and if you have any suggestions for them, by all means, certainly let us know. But the only variables that we have,
again, you go into custom tools, F1,
or that these are they in the custom tool window. So if you want to zoom in on that again, you have the IP address, the target fully qualified name, the target short name,
MAC address, serial number, and then the OS name.
Those are what we have at this point. So, hey Jason, go ahead. Do we have another follow-up?
So is this a feature waking from the inventory client, not the BIOS LAN card?
Okay. One of the most, in fact, there's a blog on this. It just barely came out. Go to adminarsenal.com and look at our blog. We explain Wake on LAN a little bit more. It's the most recent one. It came out yesterday. You still have Wake on LAN has a lot of external dependencies. Number one, you have to have it enabled. Each target has to have Wake on LAN enabled in the BIOS, and sometimes in the network card properties. So that's one of the reasons why Wake on LAN can be great, and it can also be infuriating. Is there's so many external dependencies. The BIOS or the UEFI, the network properties, and of course then your routers may not be allowing
traffic like that.
Yeah, those broadcasts and stuff like that. So sorry if now there are some vendors of BIOS and computers do provide BIOS editing tools that you might be able to deploy with Pdq deploy to turn on or disable or enable certain features in the BIOS. And if that's the case, if your vendor does offer that, then you can deploy something that does enable Wake on LAN. A lot of vendors do have that enabled by default, but some don't. So it's once you get Once you get it all set, then you're good.
Yeah.
There's
once you
still
get it
there's some
set.
things that we just don't have control over. What we do when we send out a Wake on Land, the magic packet is there's 3 different ports that we send the broadcast out over, and we have to have the MAC address. We also use the last known IP address for the directed broadcast, and then if that computer isn't configured to wake up, none of that matters.
Yeah.
All right. If there's any other questions, by all means, throw down. If you are going to be doing your remote control, if you have other remote control tools, like we mentioned, DameWare or IntelliAdmin, I highly recommend, deploying those agents using Pdq Deploy. I'd mentioned that earlier. If you have DameWare, actually, DameWare is great because DameWare, you can come into
SolarWinds.
there we are, SolarWinds. And you see there's a mini remote control agent MSI builder. You launch that, and you just specify the things you want. Maybe you use FIPS encryption. If you want to use the mirror driver, etc. You can create an MSI, which I did, and just put that out in the repository. You don't have to have it in the repository. You can have it anywhere you want, but I put it in the repository under DameWare agents, and there's a 64-bit and a 32-bit.
Yep.
And then, of course, this DameWare package just simply calls the 32-bit. There's the conditions. Remember, so this is an install step running that MSI that I created, but we're saying only run if the architecture is 32, and on the 64-bit step if it's 64. So simply by deploying this, let's go ahead and deploy once, and we'll go out to let's do Dunmire. Hopefully Dunmire's online.
Now I have to bring this up every time. We're deploying to computers, not people. And again, there are no Dunmires here. We name our computers after shows that we watch and
Or people that we know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
comic book characters.
So it looks like Dunmire's a 64-bit
There
because
we
it's
go.
running the 64-bit step. And then all you've got to do is, you'll see, we also have this configured so that after
The
this
deployment.
deployment's done, it's going to scan.
Do a scan, yeah.
And it will show up in the... while we're waiting for this to deploy, we have a question?
Can you integrate PDQ apps with Zendesk? Chad B.
We use Zendesk here, by the way. I'm not sure what kind of integration you're looking for. If you're... the answer is I'm not sure. Once again,
Are you doing like a remote call to it or something like that?
Anytime, if you want to, the answer to pretty much all of these questions, at least from PDQ and a custom tool point of view, is there a command line that can be executed to whatever program you're using? So in the case of Zendesk, you might have to use a URL, pass a URL or something in there. Send some API. Thank you, JJ. Send some API call. If you can do it from the command line, then the answer is most likely yes, as long as you can do it from the command line. But I'm not sure what kind of integration you're looking for, Chad, on Zendesk. But that's the answer. If you can do it
From a command line?
if you can just do it from your CMD window by typing in a command, or from if you're going to use a URL, you could just pass that URL there. So if you want to clarify that, by all means, throw down. Let us know. But all right, so Dunmire was successful. I'm going to minimize deploy. Go to DameWare. Yep,
there's Dunmire.
Dunmire, and I think it was Control-Shift-D. It's the first time for Dunmire, so it's initializing. But you can see that it passed the Dunmire computer there, and it opened it up.
There we go.
All right. Well, if we
Don't have any more questions.
don't have any more questions, let's go ahead and wrap it. Well, I'm Shane, you guys. Thanks for coming in. Remember, check out custom tools. Use it. What utilities do you use as a sysadmin? And can you integrate them into Pdq Inventory? Command line is the answer, especially parameters. If you can, rock on.
And I'm Lex. Remember, to make your life as easy as possible, the lazy sysadmin is generally a good sysadmin because he's automated everything. Catch
right.
you all later.
Rock on.
Everyone, thanks for joining us at the webcast today. If you have a question you didn't get a chance to ask, you can always go to our support site, support.adminarsenal.com. If your question was featured, if you'll email me so that I can send some PDQ swag to you, that email address is webcast@adminarsenal.com. We'll see you at the next webcast.